Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. We are happy to be doing this roundtable today with Dr. Sammy Ramsey, who is a part of the very exciting, very interesting, very informative Nat Geo documentary series, Secret of the Bees. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the African members on the call today, starting with Jasmine Stevens in Tampa, Florida, Chris Johnson in Raleigh, North Carolina, Miss Morgan in Deer, New Orleans, and Nancy Green in Los Angeles. I think we're going to have a couple of other members also uh, join us. So when they do, we'll just rotate them in. So with that said, I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and I'll see you on the other side.
Do you hear that? It's the sound of one of the most important animals on the planet.
Hello, everyone.
Bees are so much more than just honey makers. They learn.
She's gonna show us what we've taught her.
There it goes, keep pushing.
They build. They dance.
That is a waggle.
They provide.
It's just this massive living structure.
And we couldn't live without them. Step into a world of wonder. It's remarkable and never filmed before. Secrets of the Bees.
Good afternoon, Dr. Sammy. This is Chris Johnson out of North Carolina. Appreciate your time here and joining us here on the AAFCA telecast. The Nat Geo documentary was awesome. Really enjoyed it. I learned so much about bees that I didn't know. It was just very, very much informative. My question to you is, you've been called one of the leading voices in bee research. What personal experiences shaped your path into this field?
Thank you so much for asking that question because it gives me the opportunity to really talk about how I became an entomologist. You don't see a lot of African American entomologists. And I love that I get to hold the door open for more people. You can't be what you can't see. And showing little kids what an entomologist looks like the first time that my nephew brought home a homework assignment from his science class. It was a Scholastic article. And it's like, look, you can be an entomologist. And it had my face on it. And I was like, yes, the kids are seeing that this is really a thing. For me, it's been such a journey. And it started with my local library. I have been obsessed with entomology since I was a little kid. And prior to that, like age 6, early age 7, I was terrified of insects. I thought they were the most despicable, disturbing, unpleasant, just extra creatures on the planet. Like just doing too much. Like, first of all, how does your mouth bite this way? That's not how this is supposed to work. Like, that's a horror movie situation. Jaws go this way. Everybody knows that. Every other animal knows it. Why did you make these life choices? But as I learned about insects, I became a lot less disturbed by them and more intrigued. See, my parents told me people fear what they don't understand. Sammy, you're developing an irrational fear. You don't need to be afraid of these creatures. And if you learn about them, things are going to change. So as a 7-year-old armed with nothing more than a library card and trust in my parents, I embarked on a journey to learn more about the creatures that were animating my nightmares. And at the end of that summer, coming back from the library, I told my parents, I want to be an entomologist when I grow up. And the rest is history.
Dr. Sammy, that's awesome. I really, really enjoyed the documentary and appreciate your time and continued success to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Jasmine Stevens from the Was It Good Though podcast. Dr. Sammy, this documentary was so informative. I had a great time learning as much as I did. Within this documentary, it shared a lot of fascinating insight into bees' behavior and culture. What's one mind-blowing or lesser known fact about bees that didn't make the documentary that you would like to share?
Oh, my goodness. So when I first got to jump into this, they were like, okay, Sammy, you get to really talk about bees on air. We need to figure out what we're going to prioritize. And Oh, that was the toughest part of this entire experience was cutting out all of these different ideas that I thought were so incredible. One thing that I really wanted to make into the documentary that didn't was that the only region in the world where every single honeybee species is present is Southeast Asia. And I wish more people knew that because it's such a biodiversity hotspot in the world. If you truly want to understand bees, their health, their viruses, their entire ecological systems, you have to go to Southeast Asia. But if you want to guess where the vast majority of bee research comes from, well, it happens to be from the Western world where only one honeybee species is present. Just one. We've only got one. And so, like, we have really heavily weighted things towards the West. And as a result of some aspects of the legacies of colonialism, substantially less research is actually conducted in Southeast Asia and in these regions of the world where some really fascinating genetics have developed. There was also this big scare about Africanized honeybees that actually hailed from a fair amount of xenophobia. This idea that if it comes from Africa, it must be aggressive, it must be scary. And when the Africanized honeybees, so-called, arrived in the US, there was no elevation in the number of deaths from stinging insects, as was so heavily touted, and they just kind of mellowed out. We've actually found that there's a genetic group of bees that we're referring to as the GAHB, the gentle Africanized honeybees. They went to Puerto Rico, got some of that island weather, and chilled out. They haven't been stinging anybody. And we're trying to figure out how to get that same vibe into the rest of the honeybee population so that we can get these really gentle bees. So it's actually quite the opposite. We were afraid that they would hail the worst stinging incidents of all time, and we've actually found a group of bees that are the least inclined to sting that come from that lineage.
Hi, I'm Morgan on Scenes and Color. Thanks for speaking with us today. And I just want to say the work that you do is really incredible and definitely interesting. The entire documentary from start to finish was really just educational and informative. So, what was it like for you to be a part of such a groundbreaking series where bees are doing things that are remarkable and definitely rare and hardly ever before seen on screen? I mean, these bees are playing, they're learning how to open little portals and things like that. So, personally, what was it like for you to be a part of something like that?
When I tell you, this was an incredible opportunity for me. I truly cannot overstate it. When I was a kid, I used to read these yellow border National Geographic magazines that would arrive every month, and they were the hugest deal for me, to the point that I built a fort out of them in my room. And when the new Nat Geo would come, I would read them in my Nat Geo fort until the structural integrity of it was no longer sound, and my parents made me donate it, but it's fine. Anyway,
I love that for
to
you.
well, thank you, because I was living my best life. But the transition here that's so incredible to my mind is there was this point where National Geographic became aware of my existence, and that was just mind blowing. So mind blowing that I didn't believe them. I received an email from the National Geographic Society saying that they want to induct me into the society because I embody the ethos of what the society does. And I deleted it because I was like, this is clearly spam. There is literally no way that this is real. They had to find my number and call me. I almost missed out on my opportunity running around Thailand, not thinking that this was real. And so when I was inducted into the society, I got this opportunity to work with incredible people. I wrote a chapter of a book about exploration, and it's literally next to National Geographic explorer Jane Goodall, which was absolutely just off the wall. So some of these opportunities that have come around have been incredible, but this has been the most exciting one. Working with National Geographic Explorer at Large, James Cameron, while he is
Right.
simultaneously filming Avatar, Fire and Ash, and then bringing his curiosity and his excitement about the world and what people can see on the screen to this has been incredible because he has a different vantage point of looking at how to show people exciting information. He thinks of these expansive, fantastic worlds and then how to shrink them down so that people can see them. And so some of the in National Geographic contacting me about being a producer in this documentary, they wanted my ideas. They wanted me to have some creative input into what all of this looked like. And I wasn't sure exactly how to do it at first because I wasn't sure what we could actually visualize. And so I would say like, oh, I would love for us to show what it looks like when the honeybees are in the colony and they're actually feeding each other, because the mouth parts that they have, like a lot of people don't realize they're hollow. And so it's a tube, it's a
Mm.
straw, and they're actually moving honey back and forth that way. But we probably can't show that. And they're all listening to me like, yeah, we can. Let us show you what we can do. And it's things like the utilization of endoscopy lenses, like literal endoscopy lenses, that they put into the colony so that we could capture these moments. And that kind of stuff just really blew my mind. So I'm still in a place now of processing the experience that I got to have. And it all really started with this connection to the National Geographic Society.
And I just want to say it's so, so well deserved. In the part that you mentioned about them funneling that through the straw, it's early on in the series, and it's
Yeah,
one of the things that's totally captivating. You
isn't
did a
it?
great job.
Thank you
Definitely.
so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Nancy Green here. First of all, I love bees, so this was great to see. And Dr. Sammy, seeing you like talk about like how they were playing, I already knew
Hmm.
about that experiment. So I was
Hmm.
very curious, with you and James Cameron, what are some of the things that you talked about in terms of experiments that can be done, different things that people can learn about how to interact with bees, especially seeing bees in the wild? And some experiments that, maybe will help bee populations in the future.
Yes. So for this documentary, there's work that had already been conducted that we were really excited to show on camera. I had spent maybe 2 years to that point already teaching. No, no, that was the end of my first year. Yeah. So about a year and some change. Working at the university, teaching about the exciting experiments that were going on. So then to have the opportunity to show these experiments to people, to show the famous bumblebee play experiment was really exciting. But then I started thinking about other things that we might be able to show. And I thought about this fascinating scientific paper that came out. I believe the researcher who conducted the study was Canadian, but she was doing her work in Vietnam. And she showed that the bees, when they have this really, really, really scary context of hornets attacking their colony, that they have a life or death situation presented to them. If they do not do something about that scout, their entire colony is going to die, and there's no question about it. There's no other way to escape. If that scout that's entered the colony is able to take a sample back to her girls and start handing it out like she in Costco, there will be problems. And so when the hornet leaves the colony after she's gotten that sample, she's like, this is good. I need to make sure that the sister squadron knows how to get back here. So she creates this pheromone pattern on the front of the colony. If the bees don't erase that pheromone pattern, they're dead. But you can't just lick it off. It's this complex blend of volatilized lipids that are stuck to the wood itself of the colony. So the bees would fly out and grab water buffalo dung and rub it over the smell so that they could cover the smell with something else. And when the hornets try to fly back, they couldn't find the colony. But what we didn't know was that the bees were thinking of this much more expansively than we thought. We thought maybe evolution had primed them to grab something that was stinky. They were smart enough to realize any smell that's strong can do the job. So for the very first time, we captured on camera them actually collecting leaves. Very, very pungent leaves with beautiful smells to them, but smells that are so strong that when you chew up those leaves, it's the only thing that you can smell. And they rubbed that over the really concerning pheromones that were left behind by the hornets, and it saved those organisms' lives. And that's really given me this expansive idea of what can be accomplished via documentary research. Because when we go over there to film something, we still get to do the research itself. That research can end up in scientific journals. That research can really help people in a number of ways. And the documentary itself can be that conduit to actually get that work done. So now, what I'm very interested in is that there's this parasitic mite that's been running around the world. It's not the one that you saw in the documentary, the varroa mite, but it's actually the Tropicalaps mite. And these Tropicalaps mites, they're from the same region of the world. They're also from Southeast Asia, where most diseases of honeybees emerge, and they are incredibly devastating. When they reached Pakistan, within 10 years, they had killed off the entire honeybee population, which is insane. And we are making a really scary mistake in choosing to wait until they arrive in the US to study them. I want to study them now. And so, tracking the spread of these parasites as they move around the world, learning how they're able to spread so effectively, that's the kind of stuff that if we go over there to film them, it gives me the opportunity to do some really cool research that would be prohibitively expensive otherwise. And I'm already discussing this with National Geographic. And so, y'all will just have to wait a little bit to see what comes of it.
Nice. Thank you so much. And your work
You're
is so
welcome.
important, and I love your enthusiasm. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate it.
Hey, Dr. Sammy, this is Chris again, and I second what Nancy said. I love your enthusiasm all the way around and just the interest of bees itself, because it opened up my eyes to so much more of what I didn't know, and if we could speak a little bit more, Dr. Sammy, in regards to the environmental impact of bees itself, can you connect the health of the bee populations to like global food systems and food security?
Oh, I sure enough can. So these bees, when I tell you they are supporting our food systems on their tiny little backs, it is quite incredible. And I wish that more people truly understood what we would lose were we to lose them. Our honeybees are the third most valuable livestock in the world. And yes, they are considered livestock because of the way that they're managed and the kind of work that they do. So just after cows and pigs, you have the honeybees that are supporting a huge amount of our global food system. They contribute about $18 billion to the United States economy annually, billion with a B. They contribute about $220 billion to the global economy, billion with a B. And it is absolutely, well, concerning to think about the plight that we are in right now, because last year we had the largest die-off in honeybee populations that we have literally ever seen. It was really, really scary to have that be the historical moment that we live in. But yeah, we lost more than 60% of our honeybee colonies in 1 year. And that is a place we never want to be in again. And it's one of the reasons why funding bee research is such an important thing for us to do, because if we lose that source of pollination to make sure that these plants that we consistently rely on are available to us, we are going to be in serious, serious trouble. So it's incumbent upon me as your friendly neighborhood entomologist to really spend my time making sure that everybody under the sound of my voice knows that we have to protect our bee population if we want to protect our food systems. And that's just focusing on the really honestly the most anthrocentric way of looking at this. Like, what can we do to help the people? But also, bees are adorable and awesome, and we should protect them for that reason too.
Absolutely right. And well said, Dr. Sammy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Sammy, Jasmine again. I
Hey
did
there.
want to ask you there was a scene where you went to a hive and it was infected with a particular type of parasite, and you used powdered sugar to remove the parasite from the bee. Could you please walk us through how this method was developed?
Yeah, I really, really, really wish that I could tell you that it's like an old grandma special right there where she showed me this in the backyard 20 years ago. But this is something that beekeepers have been doing for decades. I don't know exactly what country it started in, but it's something that we've recognized for some time, is that the mites have these foot pads that are a lot like the suction cups that we used to use back in the day to stick our phones to the windows of our car. Do you guys remember that? So back before cars were actually structured to hold your phone in one way or another, or to connect your phone to a screen that's already in the car, we used to have a suction cup on our windshield. And if that suction cup got a bunch of dust or particulate matter on one side of it, you try to stick it to the window and it would slide right down and fall off. And it's the same sort of thing going on with the mites. Their foot pads need to have adequate purchase with the surface that they're connected to. And if you put a layer of particulate matter between their foot pads pads, and the thing that they're trying to attach to, they'll slide right off. So by putting all this powdered sugar into a jar with the bees and shaking it up, you get that powdered sugar cornstarch mix all over the bees. And when the mites try to climb on them, they slide off. Then you can turn that bottle upside down and shake it, and the mites will just fall out. You spritz it with a little bit of water, the sugar dissolves, and you see all these little red dots. You know exactly how many mites you have. You can remove them easily. It's a really, really, really great system. It's even better for individuals like me who need to research the behavior of the mites. So I need them alive. And so being able to get them off the bees with powdered sugar, bring them back to the lab and conduct experiments on them is a really important part of how I do what I do. But the element of it that makes it feel magical to me is that after all of this is done, I can dump them back in the colony and they are the most popular bees you will ever see. Everybody's high-fiving them and licking them. It's great. It's an amazing experience.
I thought that scene was awesome in the documentary. I was
Wasn't
just like, it was. Thank you.
it? Thank you. I know I'm biased, but that was one of my favorite ones too.
So, Dr. Sammy, I mean, nature in general in this documentary is really captivating, and there's so many things that are really intricate and beautiful about the species. So, one of my favorite bees in the documentary that I just learned about was the buff-tailed bumblebee. So,
Yes.
did you have a bumblebee species in particular that you like to work with for this documentary?
So I'm a bumblebee fan to begin with, and I feel like bumblebees don't get enough love. The honey that they make in very small quantities because they don't need to overwinter with it. The queens will overwinter, and so the entire colony isn't going to be alive through the winter the way that it is with honeybees. That's the reason why honeybees have to make so much honey. The bumblebees also have much smaller colonies, so they don't do as much work in terms of pollination as you would get with a colony of 60,000 bees from a colony of 800 bumblebees. So it's a system where they're easy to overlook. Sometimes I call them the humble bees because they don't always get the attention that they deserve. But these bees work incredibly hard, and there are plants that they are structured to pollinate that other creatures simply can't. It's really quite fascinating, but they have this capacity for buzz pollination where they'll grab on to the anthers of the plant, the things that produce the pollen, and just vibrate their bodies, a little bit of bee twerking. And as a result, the plants through that system of vibration will release this bundle of pollen onto them. So
Mm.
I love working with different bumblebees, but my favorite is the red-banded bumblebee. It's got like this really nice little belt going around its waist of bright red fur. And they are, unfortunately, a bumblebee that has become rarer and rarer over time. So if ever I see one, I just lose it with excitement because there are a few populations up north in different areas that are still really doing their thing. And we need to figure out how to make the world that they exist in once again accessible and amenable to their populations. So I'm working on it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Hi, Nancy again. So I was really curious about a bee that I did not see in the documentary because there
Oh.
were so many different ones. I
Mhm.
think I didn't, I wanted to make sure, but the Africanized honeybee.
Aha. Yes, you did not see them
And
in.
okay, and so I was wondering if you could talk a bit about those and how they kind of fit into the ecosystems with the different types of bees. And I always hear scary things about the Africanized honeybees. So I just want to know
Mhm.
if you could go into that a little bit. Right.
Yeah, folks been out here hating. It's fine. So what had happened was the bumblebees or the honeybees in the US, they're really good at what they do. They are great at pollination. They make colonies of 60,000 individuals, and all of those individuals are able to coordinate their feeding processes such that they're really good at collecting food, making honey, pollinating plants. Phenomenal. But they're not always that great in tropical contexts. The ones that we have in the US are better adapted to temperate contexts where they have to overwinter for a while and then come out of that. And so, in more tropical areas, especially regions like Brazil, the researchers there were like, "How do we build a better bee? Well, maybe we need to actually get ours from tropical areas because the ones that are actually in Brazil, they're from Europe. They were brought over with the settlers. They came over on the ships immediately after the Mayflower. It's actually quite remarkable to consider, but there are no honeybees that are actually native to either of the Americas. And so these researchers actually got bees that were adapted to Africa, which the parts of Africa that they collected from had similar climates to Brazil. They brought them over and they tried to get them to um, cross uh, cross pollinate, if you will, to mate with the queens of the European bees, and they did. And it was great until one person made one mistake. He did not put the what we call a queen excluder on the colony. It keeps the colony there's a queen excluder on the colony. There's also a swarm catcher on the colony to keep the colony from swarming, and he forgot to put that on the colony, and a bunch of the queens escaped. And they made it into the environment, did a great job of establishing themselves, and then started migrating farther and farther north. And when we heard this, in the US, we freaked out. We're like, they're going to kill us all. These Africanized honeybees are going to be the end of us. And we thought that they were going to dramatically elevate the number of deaths from stinging insects in the US every year. And then they arrived, and there's a really great article that was written about the response because we spent money on the response. We were going to try to figure out how to protect ourselves from them in all these different ways. And the article, the title is Africanized honeybees arrived with a whimper. And it was just like nothing happened, guys. Like they showed up, and turns out African things aren't as scary as we thought they were. So we have really been trying to get people to better understand now that science has taken some serious turns since then. We have been really working hard because that was a wake-up call for us. That was a moment for us to recognize that there were some aspects of xenophobia that had made their way into our science, and it changed the way that we were thinking about what should have been an unbiased scientific way of looking at the world. It had really made its way in there. I've been doing some studies of what we've been referring to as Africanized bees, and it just turns out that they are not as scary or as aggressive or as problematic as we originally thought they were. They are still a bit more aggressive, and they do swarm more often than the European honeybees that are typically managed by beekeepers in the U.S. But aside from that, they're pretty chill. That's one of the reasons why you don't see them in the documentary. There's not a lot of drama there. There was not a huge story to tell. I think they should get their own story and their own documentary someday because a lot of people, when sometimes there is a lot of fear around a particular subject, a lot of hype, and then you don't really hear about the resolution. So many people heard everything about the murder hornets and heard nothing about how that problem was resolved. And one of the reasons for that is that that's not always as attention grabbing as the actual drama of what was going on.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much. And I knew it. I knew it. I knew they weren't as bad. I
Hmm.
had,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you. Thank you for
You're
explaining that.
welcome. Of course.
Hi, Dr. Sammy. Just to touch a little bit about some of the behind the scenes things there. Were there any moments during production where things didn't go as planned?
um, in our in our time filming, I think what I can say is that because we are working with a team that has done this kind of thing before and done it very effectively, we very well minimized the number of dramatic, unexpected events that could occur in this context. And I am so excited to be working with a team like that. And I say to be working with a team like that because it ain't over. Like we still have a lot that we're doing. And um, I genuinely can't think of a single thing that happened where we were all just like totally like, oh my gosh, we are not prepared for this occurrence. But I can tell you about a circumstance where the bees really surprised us. We were going to Southeast Asia to film the bees utilizing what we had already read about, water buffalo dung, in order to counteract the pheromones of the hornets. When they started grabbing leaves after the exposure to the hornets, we were all like, wait a minute, that's not in the, hmm. That's not what we thought that we were going to be filming. And it was one of those moments where something dramatically different occurs than what you expected. And it's actually a great thing because it allows us to say we filmed a behavior never caught on video before, ever. And we're really excited to show that to the world. Every time people ask me, like, what in this documentary do you want to make sure that people pay attention to? I want them to see that. I want them to see all of the aspects of the bees' brilliance because they are so intelligent. And we have this viewpoint in our minds that what sets us apart from the rest of the animals is tool use or our intelligence or our language. And the bees have all of that. Our culture is another thing that we used to say separates us from the bees. We have culture, they don't. And what we have seen now is that every time we try to put other organisms into these boxes, into these restrictive categories, they are going to explode their way out of them. And I love that the bees get to show us that because we don't need all of these different categories.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sammy.
Oh, thank you. I actually, I'm really glad to have had this opportunity to talk to all of you. I love that I'm seeing people watching this documentary that I usually don't see in entomological contexts. I go to the Entomological Society of America meeting every year, and I rarely see anyone with my skin tone or anything darker. And so, thank you guys for inviting me out to get to chat with you.
Thank you, Dr. Sammy, for
Of course.
your enlightenment and sharing with us the truly, eye-opener watching this series. So, on behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, we thank you for joining us today, Dr. Ramsey, and we thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.